This evening, I was talking to some quote unquote Native Americans who are a part of my ancestry, but we don't follow the title American because it's just worldly. Let's say worldly title, and it's an offense to the indigenous community, which are the Indians. I have a strong Indian heritage. That's why my last name is Brayboy. But my previous video was brought up in some areas, and one of the natives there had told me, he said, our community never feared the Creator. We simply worshiped the Creator, and we would always call the Creator great-grandfather. And we would smoke our pipes and give thanks to the Creator because of what was within the pipes and everything. What was within a whole lot of the pipes, and the Indians used to smoke chocolate, herbs, and cannabis and things like that. But they never feared the Creator, never feared the Creator, and they never taught the offsprings to fear the Creator. They said we are one with the universe in terms of nature, not one with the universe in terms of total order, because none of us is in total order. But this whole concept of fearing God did not enter into the, you might as well say, environment until organized religion was created. And the whole fear concept is, like I said in my previous video, a design in order to control the human being and to make the human being a dishonest human being, even though religion asserts to create people who are honest. But when you are programmed to fear the Creator, and as I said before, your submission to the Creator because of your fear of the Creator creates another God, which is fear, because it's fear that you're actually bound to. That's what you're bound to. Religion has created fear as a God. When Yeshua was in the Garden of Gethsemane, Yeshua was faced with fear. He was faced with fear. Now, people try to compare this to when he was led to the desert to be tempted. Of all of those worldly things. But if you're tempted by something, it only implies what is placed before you is created to attract you towards it. Fear is not attractive. It's not something that's attractive. Fear is an entity that comes before you in order to make you afraid. Now, fear's intention is to make you afraid. It's to make the host afraid. So When Yeshua was faced with fear, he became afraid. And the disciples couldn't understand what was wrong with him. And as the scripture says, he said, Father, if it is possible, can you please pass this cup from me? Now, even though it is not mentioned in the Bible that the Creator told Yeshua, no, it is implied. It is implied. So Yeshua said, suffer it be so. Because obviously the Creator transmitted to him a no. He said, suffer it be so, for it is not my will, but thine will be done. Now, this assertion of Yeshua always being one with the will of the Creator, in the Garden of Gethsemane, it reveals otherwise. He said, for it is not my will, but thy will be done. Well, Yeshua, what was your will? His will at that time was for the mission to be passed on, that portion of the mission to be passed on, according to the Bible. But the Creator obviously said, no, you must overcome fear. And the only way that you're going to be able to overcome fear, you have to face it. And so when Yeshua decided, he said, for it's not my will, but thine will be done. Okay, well, what is this thing called fear? What is it? Is it what you're afraid of, or is it fear itself? So he humbled himself and he observed fear. And when he observed fear, he found that fear's intention is to make the human being afraid. Now, if you're on a righteous path, that's when you're always faced with some type of opposition. In this particular case, fear wanted Yeshua to be made afraid so that Yeshua can be made intimidated, so that Yeshua will not continue to be motivated forward. So once Yeshua read fear and he understood the nature and the function and the intention of fear, he said, oh, I see. You're here to try to make me divert from the path that the Creator placed me on. So now that I know you and I understand you, and I know what your intention is and your function is, now you no longer have the effect on me, because now I understand. Now I know you. Now I can move forward. He faced his fear. He overcame it by way of understanding fear and its intention. And after you understand fear and its intention and its function and its purpose, then it doesn't have an effect on you anymore when you did not understand it. It's like in boxing. You have two men in the ring, and they're standing in front of each other, and they're staring each other down. trying to make the other person afraid. You want to know why? Because they're both afraid. Because fear is present in them. The fear of losing, the fear of not winning. My family is here and, I don't want to be beaten and humiliated before the world. All of those things are fear-led. Even passion. I want to be champion so bad. Fear. So if I make him afraid, then I have the upper hand, but you're both afraid. So that's what the stare down is all about. Two human beings that are afraid of one another. And in boxing, if you can make a man look to the side or look down, you feel as though you have the advantage. But sometimes people do that purposely to make you think that they're afraid, to make you think that you have the advantage. And sometimes it works out otherwise. Sometimes you become the loser. That's the way it works sometimes. That's the way it works sometimes. I was also asked when I brought up the ministry that I was a part of, about the young lady that was in the ministry and we grew to love each other. I was asked why everyone at the table was so against it. Did I say or do anything to offend her? No, didn't do anything. The only thing her and I did was just take walks. That's it. I was just surrounded by a bunch of jealous, evil, deceptive, and undermined people, religious people. I had an ambitious brother there who caused a whole lot of mischief and caused a whole lot of division. Her sister was evil and prejudiced. It was a whole lot going on. These were some Caribbean people. Their father was Portuguese and their mother was from the Caribbean. And it wasn't nothing going on with us sexually. We came very close when she used to come over to my place and we would study together. Yes, I admit that. We came close, but who was it that pulled back? It was me. I pulled back. Well, why did you pull back, Brother David? Because I loved her. And I respected the fact that she was a virgin. So she was a virgin when she met me. And she was a virgin when all of that stuff was over with. We talked about being together. We talked about having a family and all of those things, but nothing ever happened. Like I was saying, I was just surrounded by a whole lot of evil people. That's all it was. I was surrounded by a bunch of evil people. And as time went on, the ministry failed, just like I told them it would. Because if your intentions are not correct, and if you're doing evil within that circle, and you call yourself a leader of a ministry, it's not going to work out. And this happened back in 1999. And it lasted till the year 2000. And what's a shame about it is that when everybody separated, nothing was resolved. And everyone was supposed to have been loving each other. We used to pray together, and at least a whole lot of the prayers were just simply to see what was on folks' minds. And certain things in prayer was said in order to compliment your brother and sister. When you pray like that, you're not praying to the Creator. You're praying to stroke someone's ego or assert that you know, you love this person. You're actually praying to one another. You know, so it was just a whole lot of things going on in that ministry, and I shouldn't have been there, but I was. But I'm glad that I was there because I learned a whole lot. Now, in terms of my video talking about the West Side and the lost sheep, as I said before, all of those things are still going on over there. Now, this coming summer, I plan on trying to get the church motivated again, but I'm just going to go about it in a different way. I'm going to go about it in a different way. Now, as far as my relationship with the Nation of Islam, I've decided to cut that off. I've decided to cut that off because I don't have time for that nigga shit. I don't have time for it. But as far as the community is concerned, I am willing to try to inspire anyone who is interested in helping resolve the problems of the community over there. I am interested in trying to do what I can, you know, to help make things better over there. So I'm just gonna, I guess I'm just gonna call it like a community effort, you know, to try to make matters better over there. Because, you know, the West Side is, like I said before, it's a beautiful landscape and there's some beautiful people over there. They just have problems. And the problems over there are more intense because they've been, you might as well say, politically segregated over there in that area. And a lot of people used to try to build businesses over there in order to help the community. But when a lot of them would go down to City Hall with their proposals on opening up clothing stores and grocery stores and other stores over there that would help nourish the community, City Hall would always turn those proposals down. However, it was always easy for anyone to go over there and tell City Hall that they wanted to open up another Christian church. It's very easy to open up a church on the West Side. This is one of the reasons why there's almost a church. There's a church on almost every corner, but it's not doing anything to uplift the community, and it's not nourishing the community. And that right there tells you about religion itself, because it doesn't meet the needs of the people over there. As I said before, and as Yeshua said, you have to go to the lost sheep. Now, some of you say, and it's easy, it's easy to mistake this because it's something that I had to learn. But they say, how is it that you always talk about Yeshua? And Yeshua is in the Bible, and Yeshua is in the religion of Christianity, but you don't support organized religion. Well, if you go into the Bible and if you study the life and times of Yeshua, you will come to understand that he didn't agree with organized religion either. You know, as a matter of fact, as I say, and a lot of people say, that it was the religious world and the political powers which caused his demise on the cross. Now, religion tries to assert that all of that was a form of prophecy. So, you know, and they say, well, he was, they was writing about Jesus coming in the books before, you know, but I understand. Environment, cause and effect. You know, when the world is going into darkness, the Creator always ushers through the universe someone in the womb of a mother, of a woman, to come into the environment to try to resolve the conditions that are within the environment. It wasn't just Yeshua. I mean, it was people like Marcus Garvey and Medgar Evers, Brother Malcolm, Dr. King. I mean, it's always been so. It's always been such. You know, I mean, there's people in the environment right now and in the wombs of some mothers out there right now that are being born into the world who will in time manifest within this society and in this environment that are going, their entire purpose is going to be to resolve the matters that are causing darkness within the world. There's always people born into the world like that. So this is why he said, my kingdom is not of this world. He wasn't a religious man. He was a spiritual being. He was a spiritual being, and that's just it. You know, and this is why it is written that the Spirit of truth will come and guide all to truth. It's not going to be a religion that's going to do it. It's not going to be a church. It's not even going to be a man anymore. It's going to be the Spirit of truth that's going to live inside of particular human beings, that's going to speak a truth, not a religious doctrine or anything like that. See, religion was created to confuse. It wasn't created to tell you the truth, because there's no truth in religion. Even though they throw some little truths in the Bible and in the Quran and in the Talmud and all of these areas of reading, but that's only to confuse you. It's the knowledge of good and evil. And there it is again. You know? So what you have to do, as he said, you have to be born again in the Spirit. That's the only way that you will be able to receive and perceive the kingdom of God. So what is the kingdom of God? When he says, the kingdom of heaven is within you. It's divine perception. But you have to be rid of all of this religious doctrine stuff that we've been programmed. You have to allow yourself to let go. And in letting go, you have to allow yourself to be afraid of letting go. You have to allow yourself to feel insecure without your current religion. And you have to understand that the Creator has already given you what you need in order to function in this society. It's called wisdom and intelligence. It's already sitting up inside of you. And stop going to these pastors, asking these pastors to pray for you. You already have what you need. When he says, go and sin no more, you already have what you need. Just stop it. Whatever you're doing that's causing your own self-destruction or deviation from what you know is correct, end it. As they say, cold turkey, end it. And if you can't end it immediately, allow it to die inside of you. People say, I'm working on it. No, you can't work on anything. You have to negate it. Every time it shows it shows its presence in you. No longer claim it as a part of who and what you are. Don't give it any attention. Don't give it any function or anything. Allow it to die. Allow it to die. Purge yourself. Don't feed those drives anymore. People say, because I used to always say, well, I'm like this and I'm like that. I'm like this and I'm like that. But if you read into those particular characteristics that you spend time claiming all the time, do those particular characteristics line up with what is divine to your particular understanding? There was a sister in the ministry, in Exalt Ministries. She went by the name of Sister Virginia. She used to, she was a pimptress. And I noticed with her, whenever she would resort back to talking about her past as being a pimptress, I used to always look at her, and she talked with such excitement. And it was almost like she would light up with bliss while she talked about it. And so one evening I was on the phone with her, and she brought that up. And I told her, I said, Sister Virginia, I'm happy that you brought that up. I said, so I wanted to tell you, stop being proud of that past. If you've left that past behind, and if you condemn it, allow it to die. Remove your pride from it. Because every time you talk about it in a way to where you're proud of that past, even though you claim to condemn it. Be born again in the Spirit. Allow it to die. The same as I did in Georgia. It was a sister that asked me, what did you mean when you say you separated yourself from him, from your former self? I condemned him. You have to condemn the former self if you are ready to receive the newness of the mind. That other human being has to die, because that other human being was inhumane and he caused you problems, even if his intentions were good. His good intentions obviously wasn't good for you, other than the lesson that you had to learn. And that's it. And that's he or she. Whether you're a man that's going through it or a woman that's going through it, you have to die in order to live. That's what it's all about. If you truly want to live, you have to understand what death is and its quality. We've been taught that death of the organism is the death itself. But as Sir Jiddu Krishnamurti had said, he said, everything, the stress and the anxiety and all of those things, the emptying of that is the real death. That is the real death. And Yeshua spoke of that. Except a man or a woman be born again, not reborn, born again. Only then can he or she perceive the kingdom, because the organism is limited intellectually. Because of the information is limited. And so you have to be born again in the Spirit, that you may have clarity, so that you can clearly see the kingdom. And it has nothing to do with knowledge. It has everything to do with moving forwards and into the new day, and not looking back or even perceiving back, but just moving forward. Just moving forward. It's not as complicated as organized religion has made it through their pastors, you might as well say. See, the church was created so that mankind and womankind can depend solely on them, while they depend on the government. Because if you look in the churches today, you remember when Bush was in office? How can any of us forget, right? The Bush administration created a federal grant for each church. It was called the faith-based, The faith-based grant. And they was willing to finance churches. This is one of the reasons why you see a lot of American flags in churches now. And if you happen to walk into a church and it has an American flag in there, there's a very good chance that pastor is getting paid every month. And the stipulation with that is they will finance your church as long as you don't speak anything against the government. And as long as you continue to encourage your congregation to take part in the voting process and, the government dealings. However, Yeshua said, my kingdom is not of this world. And who did he say that to? He said it to Pontius Pilate, who was a politician. You are not supposed to be involved in any political dealings in this world. When Obama was coming into office, it was a whole lot of so-called black people voting for him simply because of the color of his skin. And then when he got in office, Obama was dropping bombs everywhere. He spilled so much blood, just like all the rest of the presidents did. And so when I was out speaking in little short gatherings, I would ask them, how do you feel now? You voted this man in. You set him in that seat. So all of the blood that you see him spilling overseas, that blood is on your hands too. And a lot of people say, no, it's not on my hands. Yes, it is. Because Yeshua told you, do not participate. He said, my kingdom is not of this world. He said, render that which is Caesar's and you render God what is God. What does that mean? Pay your taxes. That's it. That's all you have to do is pay your taxes. As a follower of Yeshua's example, that is the only thing that you should do in terms of cooperation with this government. Pay your taxes. That's the law of the land. It's that simple. Now a lot of people say, you're not being realistic. Yeah, I'm being very realistic. It's just that we've been programmed and educated and therefore miseducated against what the message is all about. And if you look at the message is very humane. The only thing he's telling you is how to think like a human being. If the government is dropping bombs on people overseas, spilling the blood of people overseas and creating wars all over the planet, I'm not going to vote any of these politicians in because I don't support anything that this government is about. You vote a man in the seat, whether he's black, white, green, or yellow. You're responsible for everything that he does from that point on because you helped sit him in that seat. But you want to know why you're doing it? Because you're Christian and you're not a disciple. I want you to go to Matthew chapter 10, verse 42. And I would suggest the King James Version because he talks about that. He said, do these things only in the name of a disciple. He never had Christians. He said, if any man be my disciple. What does disciple mean? One who is being crystallized into oneness with God, following the example of Yeshua, the Christ. And that is very accurate. Is that you? Is that you? Are you being crystallized into oneness with God? Now, if he says, my kingdom is not of this world, and you are participating in the government system as far as the voting process is concerned, and if God told Yeshua that your kingdom is not of that world, and you say you follow him, you're not his disciple. You're this government's Christian because you are participating in what this government does. This is a Christian nation. Really? You're not even manifesting what it means to be Christian. You know, I mean, commonly the definition of Christian is inaccurate. It says Christian means to be Christ-like. Well, Christ-like is not a definition. Christ-like is a state of being. It is saying, I am like Christ. I am like Christ. So does that mean I'm like Yeshua? No. Christ means the anointings. That anointings that makes you a human being. Enlightenment. It's the enlightenment. You know, they call Buddha the enlightened one. They called Yeshua the Son of God, the Messiah. You know, I mean, all of those imply enlightenment. Enlightenment. So the kingdom is within you. Get rid of all of this stuff. Get rid of it. Because your enlightenment is waiting for you to acknowledge it. All of the division, oh, we can only eat this, and we can't say this, because if we say this, then this is going to happen. Oh, that don't mean that. That means this. Oh, this means that. That means this, and everybody's at the table, going at each other's throat over something that is supposed to be divine. But I don't see no divinity in anything. As a whole lot of people are starting to no longer see divinity in religion, because it does nothing but cause conflict, wars and bloodshed and the division and unhealed things, because people, they condemn you and walk away from you. Just like Exalt Ministries, until this day, no one speaks to one another. And we were supposed to have been getting into a ministry. We're going to do all of these things. And until this very day, no one speaks to one another. Religion, right? Everybody's in the spirit, right? Okay, that's fine. But like I say, that's one of the reasons why I pull away from religious people in the religious world. So, try to be a disciple. You know, and then they say, well, the disciples were first called Christian in the city of Antioch. Yeah, that's what they were called, but they wasn't. That's just what they were called. They were called Christians, but they wasn't Christians. And it says that right there. The disciples were first called Christians in the city of Antioch. That's what they were called. It's not what they were. Understand? It's what they were called. It wasn't what they were. And then when you do the proper research, well, who was it that called them Christians? Where did this title derive from? What mentality came up with this? It was the enemies of Yeshua and his disciples. Well, why would anyone who says that they follow his example embrace a title in which came from his enemies? I mean, the white man called me a nigger. I don't accept that title. I'm pretty certain that the Hispanic community don't accept the title spick or anything like that. Or the Jewish community, they don't accept the slang kike. They don't accept that. Why should they? And why should you? If you're dignified, if you understand what you are and what you're not, you don't get upset when you hear things like that. You don't get upset. So learn what it means to be a disciple. You're already equipped. He said, observing all things. So don't limit yourself inside of a religious doctrine, because it has limitations on it. Has limitations on it. Yeshua told you to observe all things. He did that. That's why he was gone for the past 18 years. He was everywhere, observing everything. Don't limit yourself. Observe all things. Observe everything. It's a big, beautiful world. There's a whole lot to learn out here. Don't limit yourself. I was telling the Jehovah's Witnesses when I was in Georgia, y'all need to start studying everything. You need to read everything. No, we're just gonna do this. Okay. Ain't no need. I'm not gonna go back and forth with you. You know, I'm not your leader. I'm just being a friend. That's it. You know, but you're not doing what he suggests that you should do. You should observe all things, because every day something is new, something is different. Every day is new. Observe all things. Become a disciple. And even the term disciple, it's a movement, observing all things. So what does disciple really mean? A person who is on a constant journey of evolution towards enlightenment every day. Now, when I say toward enlightenment, I don't mean a sphere. Once you get to a certain level, you're considered enlightened. No. As long as you're on this planet, you should always be willing to learn something new, because every day is new. And if you're not, then you're going to end up being what is called, the elders have a very bad reputation in the Bible, where it says you can't pour new wine into an old wineskin. You don't want to be like that. You want to always be open to learn more and more and more. Okay. With that being said, I'm just going to cut this short because I need to lay down. And so everyone have a good night. All right. Stay human.